broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing after shows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
And so that's normally where Loch Ness Monster family hangs out. That's where you can see them.
Gotcha.
Welcome, everyone, to the AfterBuzz TV show. AfterBuzz, After Show, AfterBuzz, After Show. There we go. UFC on Fox, as we cover last night's event.
And I thought my intro was
I totally messed that up. We're going to try it again. Rewind. Welcome, everybody, to the AfterBuzz TV network while we cover the UFC on Fox After Show. That was a lot better.
There you go.
As we recap last night's great, fantastic, tremendous, in my opinion.
Yeah?
And not so much. And not so much. But it was still very much so an important night of fights. We saw a lot of fights that kind of can go either way in a lot of respective divisions, and we are here to talk about it today.
Shakes things up a little bit. There were some a few upsets that worth talking about. Well,
I agree.
Not upsets for two people at least.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about it today. But before we talk about it, everybody wants to know who is going to talk about it.
Well,
You first, Laura.
I am Lethal Laura. You can find me on Instagram, Lethal Laura with one L in the middle.
JTan716, as usual, all over the place, and we still are LL Cool J.
And I'm George Hermoza, and I'm 3 tweets away from 1,000 tweets.
3.
So feel free to follow me on Twitter to know what that 1,000 tweet, I can't even talk today. 1,000, it was a taco I had earlier today.
Can I make a prediction as to what it'll be?
Sure.
Who the hell is that?
That's
What?
God.
It'll probably be, this is my 1,000th tweet.
It'll probably be 2 tweets from now that'll be the one, yeah.
Yeah, 997. Should be my 999 tweet. That would be funny. But follow me on Twitter to know what my 1,000th tweet is going to be.
Shout out in the chat room here, Brandon James Clifford, and of course our main man, Joe Boza. Brandon James Clifford says, don't care. So I don't know if that's on our show or the event itself, but whatever. Joe Boza makes a point here. Fighters were happy that Sage lost because at UFC Fight Night 80, he was paid 4 times more than everybody else. Yeah, he is getting, he's got a good contract. He comes in at $40,000. I think it's 40 and 40, I believe.
Yeah, it's 40 and 40.
Yeah, for 19 years old. 19 years old, I was a stock boy I was a grocery boy. I was still pushing carts with Frank Trigg, UFC Hall of Famer. Thank you very much. Shout out to Wegmans Pittsburgh, except for the fact that they haven't recognized Frank Trigg as a UFC Hall of Famer. Wegmans, you're slacking.
Not yet, at least.
Yeah, they haven't. Not yet. I've been tweeting and bugging them about that. Like, that's the most famous person to come out of your grocery stores, guys. Just saying. Guaranteed. All right, I'm done.
Alrighty. We're going to cover last night's awesome UFC Fox 18. Ryan Bader versus Anthony Rumble Johnson. I guess it's not fair to not nickname Ryan Bader. Ryan Darth Bader versus Anthony Rumble Johnson. If I'm going to nickname them, I'm going to nickname both of them. Unfair to, if I only nickname one of them when they both have a nickname.
Well, maybe that's the spoils of victory.
Yeah, maybe just
Rumble
something.
keeps his nickname. You keep saying Rumble's nickname, and Ryan Bader is simply Ryan Bader.
That's true. Darth just sounds not as.
I think it's cool.
Darth?
Yeah, I've always been on board the Darth Bader thing.
No, I agree. I think it's better when it's Darth Bader,
right?
As opposed to just Rumble. Just Rumble, just kind of
Rumble Johnson
on its own. But on its own, Rumble just has a little bit more.
Like, you know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like Rampage
Yeah.
Jackson,
Exactly.
Rumble Johnson. I think they both go together. I don't know. Johnny Bacon's up in here too. What up, Johnny? Was at Prudential last night. Great venue. No kidding, dude. Talk to us some more about it. Spit some more. Tell us about the live event, huh?
Newark, New Jersey, and I like the fact that the main event for this fight wasn't really barred an injury. It was announced months ago, and it stayed the main event.
Yep.
Wish I can say the same about the next UFC event, but
well, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that eventually. But yeah, main event headliner, 5 rounds. Obviously, it didn't go 5 rounds. I mean,
No.
Did you guys think it was going to go 5 rounds at all?
No, No, I thought Johnson had it. I hate to say had it in the bag, but I was pretty confident that Johnson would come away with it.
What about you, Laura?
I thought that maybe Bader was actually kind of hoping to get him in deeper waters, but he's very dangerous in the first and second round. So he didn't get past that first round.
It's tough to clinch up to close the distance and get Johnson, get control of his body.
Definitely.
And then he pushes away and keeps the distance, and those big two ham hocks of his.
I mean, number two Anthony Johnson versus number 4 Ryan Bader. Is it fair to say that this is, or it should be, or I don't know if officially it was, a number 1 contenders fight? Should the winner of this fight, obviously it being Rumble Johnson, should he get the next shot at the light heavyweight title? After Jones Cormier, because I guess they just kept unofficially announcing it.
Yeah, word is leaking out. I think it's to answer that question, you got to take a step back and the Jon Jones factor.
Mm-hmm.
Where is he in terms of preparation? There was the plan to run a UFC show at Madison Square Garden in April. Obviously, that's not happening. And this news of the show falling out and Jones being ready or not, and in a few days from now, we'll probably get some kind of announcement about Jones and Daniel Cormier Jones getting the next shot, essentially. So that wherever Jones is, whatever the UFC and Jon Jones team knows about where he's at in terms of preparation, X factor that will play into whether AJ or Ryan Bader prior to last night
who's to say
would get it.
Who's to say that Jon Jones hasn't been preparing for it? Because as we all know,
I'm sure he has.
Before everything happened, he moved to Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't go from. I guess he lived in New Jersey previously, or New York.
Jones,
yeah,
upstate New York.
Yeah, upstate New York. Would travel to Albuquerque, New Jersey, or Albuquerque, New Mexico, just to train. But now he lives in Albuquerque. So again, like we said, who's to say he hasn't been training? So maybe the fight might come a little bit sooner than we all think. Maybe not next month, but maybe like May or June, or maybe even UFC
I think he
200.
has been training. I think that's been the goal. I mean, there's people have been talking about that on the internet. They think
he's definitely getting ready. You seen those Instagrams?
Yeah, there's that too.
Pumped. He's just
Dude is getting yoked out, right?
Now, I know you're not a big fan of Conor McGregor, Laura, but are you a fan of Jon Bones Jones?
I am. I think he's very, very creative with every time he steps into the cage. He's able to mix it up. He's just able to kind of surprise me in certain ways how he moves and just how he defeats people and who he has defeated.
Yeah,
so.
He comes up with all kinds of unorthodox moves and just does it so seamlessly and naturally. He's in there playing around, and I'm sure he's trained it, not improvising on the fly, but the fact that it comes so natural to him, you can't deny the talent.
I'm very jealous of that, by the way. I'm serious. As a fighter, I wish I could move like that, but
right.
There's just something that kind of
you
just
ain't
comes
got them
natural.
Legs. What is he? He's like 6'5", 6'4"?
Yeah, I'm not that big, but but yeah.
Well, going back to the fights from last night, were you guys surprised in any way how the fight ended up turning up? Of course, Anthony Rumble Johnson beating Bader pretty, I guess you can say, quickly in some ways.
Yeah, quickly. What was the time on that one?
Officially, the time was
1:26 in the first. Should we run down at least run down the results here real quickly?
If you want to. We were going to get to it eventually.
Okay, I figure it's a good tipping off point here. Main event, of course, Anthony Rumble Johnson defeating Ryan Darth Bader by KO.
Actually knocking him out when he was on
he was out.
He was out completely.
I would have called it a TKO, but it was ruled a KO at 126. In the co-main, Ben Rothwell defeating Josh Barnett. Another surprise
that
there.
That was an upset.
Yeah. Submission, something he was calling the go-go choke in the second round. Bantamweight, Jimmy Rivera, I believe, maybe making his local UFC debut, defeating Yuri Alcantara by unanimous decision. Brian Barbarina, here's the other upset. Brian Barbarina, at welterweight, defeating Sage Northcutt. This was Brian was a last-minute replacement, jumping up. Sage jumped up to 170, defeated him by arm triangle choke.
We're going to talk about that one.
Yeah, from half guard.
We'll talk about that one.
By submission in the second round, On the undercard there, Tarek Safadine defeating Jake Ellenberger by decision. Carlos Diego Ferreira defeating Olivier Aubin-Mercier, also by decision. Rafael Natal defeating Kevin Casey, TKO. Wilson Heiss over Dustin Ortiz by decision. Alexander Yakovlev over George Sullivan by KO. Bruce Leroy, Alex Caceres going the distance with Masio Fullen, having a really good showing there. Unanimous decision. Talk about another guy that kind of just smile on his face, having fun in there,
Yes,
and just
all 3 rounds.
moving totally naturally. Fight pass prelims, Randy Brown defeating Matt Dwyer by decision. Rare majority draw, guys. Damon Jackson and Levan Makashvili going to draw there. And Tony Martin, Felipe Olivieri, I believe. Tech submission, rear naked choke. That was the opener of the entire show. So, that happened. Now let's pick up where we left off.
Yeah, like I said, obviously Bader with a strong wrestling background, probably trying to go a little too soon for the takedown. A very, I don't want to say surprising, but you can't take down a fully energetic Rumble Johnson as maybe Bader thought that was going to be the game plan. I mean, I was kind of not surprised that he did for that, but just that he was just so sticking to it. And it turned out maybe to be a bigger mistake than he thought. What did you guys think?
Definitely should have kind of tired him a little bit more than, just 10 seconds into the round and you just shoot in for a single.
Because going back to Rumble's previous opponent before Jimmy Manuwa's Daniel Cormier, who obviously has got a strong wrestling background, I don't recall him really trying to take him down immediately like Bader did. Because, you kind of have to know Rumble's strengths.
Yes.
And that guy's just too strong to just take down within the first 10 seconds.
True, but the counter argument to that would be to try and catch him off guard and to do something that he's not expecting.
Did you think Bader did that?
I think he tried to, in shooting for the takedown. I agree with you. It was a little bit, I think there was something missing in that strategy, if that was the strategy.
Yeah.
There was something missing in trying to kind of catch him off guard because, you've got a fully energized guy, going there. I don't know that you try and drag him into deep water. I mean, how do you do that other than strike with him? But then you're putting yourself in a difficult position, having to survive those 3 rounds or so, 2-3 rounds, striking with a guy.
I think probably Bader was trying to do what Cormier did to him, which is kind of grind him out, get him tired.
Yeah.
And that's how he kind of faded towards the end with Cormier. So
yeah.
I mean, kind of a different strategy too, because the last 2 fighters that Bader has fought were pretty much phenomenal wrestlers, Phil Davis and Rashad Evans. So I don't know, maybe it was a little bit of the preparation, maybe it was his camp, maybe he, like you said, trying to take him off guard. But again, you can't do that to a fully energetic Anthony Johnson, to the point where you can clearly hear Joe Rogan saying, well, that was a mistake. Or if Rumble is able to get this, or Bader, he's got to get hold on to the arm. Oh my God, hold on to the arm. Oh, no, he got it. And then pretty much it was all done for Ryan Bader.
Yeah, Bader tried to hold on to a
trying to get
Kimura.
any kind of positioning,
You try to hold on to a Kimura, but Johnson ended up mounting him, and that was the end of that.
Yeah. Bader, looking back at you mentioned Phil Davis and Rashad Evans. Rashad was coming off a long hiatus, and I think that whether it's, ring rust or that he just wasn't quite fully back yet, whatever you want to call it, that's a different scenario than Anthony Johnson, Phil Davis as well. Phil was defeated very easily by Rashad Evans prior to, I don't know how long ago, but prior to the Bader fight. Yeah, so those were, they were not as high ranked, and I don't think they were quite as strong as AJ is, as Johnson is right now in his position, at his point in his career. So there's that. John Platt has joined the chat room as well. Johnny Bacon saying that the Rivera fight was great. I guess that was, just real quickly, to me, I had a hard time, honestly, trying to figure out what was fight of the night. This one, Rivera and Alcantara did end up getting the fight of the night bonus. But it was a good fight. Nothing really stood out to me too much as what I would, what I qualify as fight of the night. But, props to Rivera. Certainly, it was his night in his hometown, or having the hometown advantage. Had the crowd going wild. Definitely an up-and-coming fighter. It's a guy for us to watch for then, maybe. Jimmy Rivera.
18
And actually,
wins in a row.
that fight, I was actually looking forward to it because of how UFC kind of set it up with the on the road to the octagon. And
yeah?
I was kind of excited for for
What
that.
did they
And
do? I didn't see the episode.
they was just doing like kind of like a 24/7 type of thing.
Yeah.
So they were just following the fighters, kind of preparing for the fight.
Mm-hmm.
But it was cool to see and actually show the little background of Rivera and Alcantara, how they were preparing. And I was actually rooting for Rivera. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there something that stood out in particular in his story?
He was just very humble. He was actually, that was his hometown, right? New Jersey.
He was the hometown boy. I'm not quite sure
not too
how
far
far.
from New York.
From
Yeah.
New Jersey.
From Ramsey, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's from New Jersey, yeah. Definitely the hometown crowd was
Yeah.
rooting him on.
They were booing him. I kept waiting for Jimmy's gonna kill you. Jimmy's gonna kill. One of those chants.
Maybe if it was a wrestling crowd, who knows? So now that, Anthony Johnson wins, Jon Jones, Cormier is on the horizon at some point. Johnson is willing to wait. I mean, obviously, so I think he's earned it. He's only had one loss in maybe like 3-4 years. You think it's the right decision for him?
Well, I mean, he's open to fights. He said in a post-fight interview, yeah, he is willing. He wants to wait. He wants the title shot, but anything can happen. In terms of obviously an injury or if the right match comes along. It sounded like he'd be potentially open to it.
Now, from a promoter standpoint, what fight would you rather see most? Jon Jones or Daniel Cormier versus Anthony Johnson?
Ooh,
I would love to see Jon Jones and Johnson.
Jones Johnson. You think?
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that because since Cormier has the belt.
Well, yeah.
You can't do that. You know what? Give me this, Daniel.
I'm automatically kind of taking away the belt from him. So
just by default. You know what?
Jon Jones.
We don't like you, Daniel. No, we're going to take this. John, come over here. AJ, come over here. Okay, now you guys are going to fight. No, it doesn't work that way, El.
But
you know this.
But I'm kind of like seeing the future right now.
Right.
So you're assuming Jon Jones beats Cormier and goes on to face Rumble Johnson.
Yes.
Jones Cormier and AJ faces whoever is the victor of that one. And it's I'm a little bit disappointed that so many people make it just a foregone conclusion that Jones beats Cormier. I know the evidence is there. In their previous match, it was a done no-brainer. But I like to think that. I mean, of the fighters that we know are willing to work hard and to change up their game and to grow, that have a value of growing as fighters. Daniel Cormier, I think, is right in the center of that pool of people. So I'm anxious to see what Daniel Cormier brings to the table in the rematch. How things change, because obviously the previous strategy didn't work. So now how do you change things up?
Now, would you rather see Cormier versus Rumble or Jon Jones versus Rumble?
Oh, Jones Cormier, absolutely.
Jones Rumble.
No, Jones Cormier.
No. I'm saying, assuming Jon Jones Cormier is the next fight and Rumble gets the winner of that one, what would you rather see Rumble face?
You mean
Jones or
so
Cormier?
a rubber match versus Jones Rumble?
A rubber match?
God, these names.
What?
If Jones wins the title, what are you asking me?
I'm asking, assuming now that Anthony Johnson is the number one contender,
Yes.
who would you rather see him face as opposed Jones or Cormier?
What does it matter? Because Jones Cormier is going to happen.
Yeah. So who do you want to see the winner of that face Rumble?
Okay, who do I want to win in Jones Cormier?
Who do you want to see Rumble face? As far as
I want to see him face
title?
the winner of Jones Cormier.
Who you think it's going to be? Or no, I'm saying.
Okay, there we go.
Who would
That's
you rather
the question
it be?
you're
Who would you
asking.
rather it be?
I would
Would you, as a promoter, because I said as a promoter.
Okay, as a promoter.
Would you rather see the fight we already saw, or would you rather see the fight that we almost saw?
As a promoter, Jones, because of the proven track record.
Because that fight
Personally,
was close.
as a
that
fan-
fight was like a month away from happening. Of course,
Yeah.
Obviously, all the other things happened.
As a fan, though, I'd like to see Cormier come out of this one. Also, I mean, not necessarily
Assuming
from,
that they don't fight again for the third time if Cormier wins.
Well, if Cormier wins, then I was just going to say that. Yeah, then you have the seeds for a rubber match, a third one. Do you do that right away? No, not necessarily so, unless there's controversy or it's super razor thin close. But as we've talked about, I'm not a big fan, of the rematches if you don't need to. Bottleneck's a thing, and I think that especially now, with fewer dates, you got to keep things moving. You got to keep the title match moving. I don't want to get into this thing where the UFC is, match 2, the rematch, 3, the final chapter. Because quite frankly, on top of that, you're seeing the same people over and over again, but you're not giving a chance for other people to grow.
You see the same faces.
Yeah, and that's an important thing.
It was kind of like that a few weeks ago in the lightweight division. You had Frankie Edgar versus BJ Penn twice. Then after that, you had Frankie Edgar versus Benson Henderson twice. And it was like, dude, the lightweight division has been like rematch after rematch after rematch. Obviously, we don't. I mean, it was fun, but we don't really want to see that in every division either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do agree with
at least those. I mean, those were good matches, but yeah, you generally don't want to do that if you can avoid it. In my personal opinion, Joe Boza and Johnny Bacon are going off here, man. What are we talking about here?
Let's talk about the whole UFC 200 thing. I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
Because that whole schedule was out. So that way UFC 200 fell on the July weekend.
I was thinking about that on the
So
way
now that
over.
they push it back, now that they moved, or not moved, but renamed 196 to 197, and vice versa, how does that do? Are they going to add on another event at some point? So it kind of
I think you do
balances
that.
out?
I think what it is, if we're looking at the schedule right now, let's see.
And especially with pay-per-views, do they already have their pay-per-view kind of schedule out for the rest of the year? Do they have to
I
make a
don't
new
know.
deal?
I'm sure they had it planned, but it's always subject to change, obviously. Yes, 196 is March 5th. Dos Anjos and McGregor, that's obviously
Which was
a huge
196.
one.
Well, because next week was supposed to be 196.
Doesn't matter anymore. Now it's 196.
Yeah.
So that's March. So you've got, what do you got? What comes
April
out?
would be 197.
April, May, June, right? And you got to land on 200 for July.
Yeah.
So what is it now? So April,
196. No, 196 is in March.
April is 97, 98, April, May. 98 is May. 99 would be one in June.
Yeah.
Right?
But I'm saying, like, they already kind of incorporated that. Do they have to make a new pay-per-view deal? Or, I mean, it's been a while since we've seen a
What do you mean they've incorporated
numbered.
I mean, on the schedule here, they don't have anything listed. They've got a bunch of fight nights, and then the next.
I'm assuming they're going to add like a pay-per-view somewhere.
There's
so.
Yeah, for sure. 196 in March, and then
March
the next
5th.
pay-per-view listed literally is 200. So you can easily do month, and then June. Here's what I'm thinking: you do a June pay-per-view outside of the country. That way, hopefully it's a title match or it's something good like Anderson Silva and Bisping, something of that caliber that London's soon going to see. But then you kind of give the U.S. market a chance to chill right before the big one in July. You can still fit it in, and maybe it's an Australia show, kind of like an Australia show where you bring the stars there. You're satiating the local market that maybe hasn't seen the UFC in a while or ever, possibly. And you give it a title match. I don't know who exactly, what would be a possibility. I haven't done that math yet. But you can fit pay-per-views quite easily, and I think you want to do, before the big one in Vegas, 200, you do want to give the North American market a rest, quite frankly. And you do a pay-per-view with a single title match somewhere overseas.
What do you think, Laura? Make sense?
Makes sense.
Makes sense?
I'm not really with those, I just watch them.
Well, we got to talk about these fights here, man. We've been...
We got the heavyweight title fight. Not a heavyweight title fight. A heavyweight title fight that got canceled next week. But very much a heavyweight title contendership fight. Josh Barnett versus Ben Rothwell. That was, to me, it was kind of a shocking result. Not in terms of who won, but how he won. I didn't think Barnett was going to tap.
Yeah.
He's not a tapper.
Nobody thought that was going to happen. Yeah. I've seen him dance. He's not a tapper. He can't.
I mean, a very different, maybe Barnett. I've seen him more aggressive before. One of the best heavyweight grapplers of all time. Definitely a different...
Only got to tap out Dean Lister.
Yeah, every different game plan. I don't know what you guys thought. I'm kind of curious what you guys thought about this whole fight. But yeah, definitely not the Barnett I'm used to seeing in the past few years. What do you guys think?
He was definitely striking more, and he was actually being a little bit more aggressive. He actually looked a little bit more fit than he's looked in the past. But I mean, he looked good. I don't, just to have him tap out like that, like it was just hard to see.
Kudos to Ben Rothwell though. That guy's been on a legit tear the past few years. I didn't see him dance though. I wanted to see him dance.
Yeah, that was. Although there is video of it, he did it in the pre-fight workout. Yeah. There's, of course, the Barnett Pearl Harbor job impromptu wrestling match.
That was kind of cool.
It was cool, but I think he knows that guy because he had a Reebok jersey on, a Reebok shirt. I think there's something fishy going on there.
You think it's fake?
I don't know about that. I mean, he was, he attacked him. Josh didn't see it coming, but that Reebok thing, there may have been some kind of setup. But anyway, of course, there's also Ben, your boy, Big Ben, doing some dancing. That video's, I think I saw it on MMA Fighting. So check that out.
What was he dancing to?
It was his weirdo, goofy dance that he did in the Overeem thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. George, do it.
I was waiting for Ben Rothwell to do it.
Well, all right.
But
you know what? This is all the more reason for you guys to go on YouTube and watch this as opposed to downloading us on iTunes.
All right. What is he going to do? For people on iTunes, it's literally Jay dancing. No joke. He's literally dancing. And there's YouTube video. You can go back and watch a YouTube video to see the video proof.
With an added Ben Rothwell. Yeah. So.
But I thought quite the opposite, Laura, in terms of being Barnett being aggressive. I thought he wasn't aggressive. I thought it was kind of a lot of feeling each other out. I thought, then Ben Rothwell happened to catch him in the go-go choke, I guess he called it.
In the first round, I ended up giving that one to Ben. Josh was coming alive more towards the end. It did feel a bit apprehensive, but it was a striking match, which we haven't seen the likes of that in that respect, at least in that way. We haven't seen that in a while from Josh. But yeah, in the second round, Josh was working on a single leg. Didn't really have, it looked like he was getting there, but really got into a bad position with Ben kind of reaching around and it almost looked like a guillotine, but leaning over. It was like a tight one up towards the chest, not one, where you've got the arms sunk in deeply over the neck. And fell over onto Barnett, and he was just in a bad way. Have you seen that? And now he refused to call it a guillotine.
I know that there's a different grabs of how you grab your hand grips. So there's a different technique that you do under there. I'm not too familiar with that choke itself, but I know that there's a different.
They kept saying like a 10 on 10 or a 10 finger choke. Is it like this where you weave the fingers, or like this?
I'm not too sure on that.
Yeah, it was. It looked like they just had a weird grip, but
yeah. I know that they were talking about just how different the grip was in comparison to a regular guillotine.
Yeah. Let's see, Joe Boza and Johnny Bacon going back and forth, still on our boy Sage. Well, let's talk. What do you think about Ben Rothwell? What happens next?
Oh, man, that's kind of tough, especially with the whole injury thing that happened. We can talk about that right now, too, where the whole Cain Velasquez, Fabricio Verdum. Have they said anything about when that fight will happen?
Nothing that I've
initially,
heard.
I know we haven't been here in a few weeks, but a lot's happened since then. It's first Cain drops out of the fight, and then Fabricio drops out because he said, well, I can fight Cain again, not 100%, but I won't fight Stipe if I'm not 100%. So I thought that was kind of weird. But now that throws when is that fight going to happen? When is Stipe? Is he going to fight again? Is he going to wait? Overeem, of course, is in the picture. Now we have Ben Rothwell in the picture. Any guy who has on his resume victories, submission victory, by the way, over Josh Barnett and KO victory over Overeem. It's kind of hard to ignore.
You don't not have that conversation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And if anybody knows me, real quick, I love legitimate respect. So hearing Ben Rothwell give mad props to Josh Barnett, he was humbled by the fact that he submitted Josh Barnett, and I love that kind of show of respect by anybody in the cage.
Yeah. I was actually watching the press conference after the show, and he was actually making his case of how he deserves that. That next.
It makes chance. It in putting over your opponent, you put yourself over, and you validate, you legitimize your own case. When you beat Josh Barnett, then Yeah, you deserve to be in that conversation. Absolutely. At this point, I think it's just a matter of scheduling and who can. I mean, maybe that's one that you do for June. Maybe you fit that one in, huh?
I mean, it goes to show too that, and we kind of predicted it maybe like a few months ago, where I think one of us might, maybe me or maybe you, obviously, that more than likely it's kind of hard to believe that Kane, or more so Kane, will show up healthy or will not drop out of the fight next week. And now it's like, how do you schedule that again and not have that in the back of your mind as well?
I personally, because of these injuries, I've become less of a Kane fan. I think his reliability in terms of injuries and health has dropped quite a bit.
Because something that adds on to someone's legacy is, how they train. Because obviously these aren't
how they train and how long can they last.
For the most part, too. I'm assuming that these aren't injuries that happen, as he's walking down the street.
Yeah,
you got to know how to train too.
It sounded like it was a pretty severe back injury, so I think that he's going to be...
to the point that he's getting surgery on it, so...
Yeah. Well, there you go, yeah. So he's going to be on the shelf for a while. So you move on. Again, you don't bottleneck the title with what's right in an ideal world, because we're not living in an ideal world here. Verdum has his dings, has his injuries. It didn't sound like he was going to withdraw from the fight itself had Kane stayed in there.
Do you agree with what he did as far as withdrawing himself from the fight after they announced against Stipe?
I have mixed emotions about it, mixed thoughts. On one hand, you're the champion, you defend the belt, you go in there, nobody is 100%. On the other hand, a change of opponent like that, when you have a title belt, the championship match, it is a bit different than...
Yeah, because, you're preparing for a certain person, going into especially a title fight.
Yeah.
And have somebody change up. You have to completely...
So it's different. Like I was listening to Big John's podcast earlier today, and he was discussing that and really defending Verdum's decision to pull out because of an opponent change. Now, from your perspective as a fighter, how much... Talk about the difference between a quick opponent change, a last-minute change, in a title match versus a non-title match.
Well, title, you have the belt.
Right.
You're actually preparing for somebody for 8 weeks that you're preparing for the fight, and there's certain things that they do constantly, and it's very hard to kind of go back to the board when a new fighter is announced. And it's just very hard to kind of get it into your brain that.
But shouldn't you be preparing for anything and everything?
Yeah.
You're preparing to be the best person that you can in the cage in a title fight, and Matt Hume's old adage, the more that you train your own game plan, the less you have to worry about the other person's.
That's one of the things that my coach actually installed in me, just working off the tournaments or anything like that. When I was going into different cities and I didn't know who I was going to face. Right. Whoever stood across from me, that's who I was facing. So he kind of always told me, just prepare for everything. But when it gets to the bigger leagues, it's a little bit different. So
altitude is higher. Altitude is, or the air is thinner, higher up on Mount Everest. So
Jon Jones, the same thing happened at UFC 151. He was scheduled to fight Dan Henderson. Henderson dropped out, and they wanted to put in Chael Sonnen. Yeah, and Johnson said nope, to the point where they had to pretty much cancel the entire.
And what was the result of that? Like the fan audience. The fans kind of shit on him, and he turned into a bad guy
unfairly too. Because they're not shitting on Jones the same way that they're not crapping on Verdum the same way they crapped on Jones.
Right. There's always going to be people that a vocal audience and say, you're a champion, you got to defend the title.
But Jones ended up fighting the next card against Vitor Belfort.
Well, then maybe we see Verdum defend sooner than later.
Maybe that's where you enter that, the UFC 199. Obviously, it being in June. Did they say what his injury was, Verdum?
No, not that I've heard of.
Hear anything.
No.
So with that said, with the whole Rothwell thing, who do you think makes the most sense? Do you have a number one contendership with, or maybe even a triple threat with Stipe, Overeem, and Rothwell?
This fool trying to start new regulations.
I've seen videos of tag team MMA, by the way. Or like a 5-on-5.
I've seen. Well, that thing is so stupid. That Russian 5-on-5. Jesus Christ, get out of here with that. Joe Boza says, I think Big Ben should get somebody in the top 5 next. Maybe Kane, because I'm pushing for Stipe versus Fabricio to actually happen. Unless Fabricio isn't pulling the scary card. Well,
he beat Josh Barnett and Overeem, I think. I mean, maybe if they have to have him fight one more time, it'd be the odd man out. So if let's say if they give it to Stipe, should be Overeem Rothwell again, or if they give it to Overeem, should be Stipe versus Rothwell.
What? I didn't even follow that.
I'm saying like
give the title match.
Whoever, because obviously the three guys that I think at any point would perfectly fit in a title match is Rothwell, Stipe, and Overeem.
Agreed.
So whoever gets a title shot, that's the other two should fight.
The other two should fight.
Yeah. So if Stipe gets a title shot, it should be Overeem against Rothwell, or
sure, I buy that
because I'm sure Overeem will love that fight as well. I mean, obviously I'm sure any fighter who loses would want to get their win back at some point.
Look at these guys. Look, he finished it. Internet, stop moving me around here. TKO on Brandon Vera. TKO on Alistair Overeem. Submission in the first on Matt Mitrione. Submission in the second on Barnett. That's number one contender talk right there. You know. We'll see what happens. That's what I don't know.
The next fight we kind of briefly talked about a little bit. Of course, Jimmy. What was his name?
Jimmy Rivera.
I was going to say Sanchez for some reason. Jimmy Rivera versus Yuri Alcantara. Obviously, hometown kid. I mean, I love that whole crowd. Just pretty much cheering on Jimmy Rivera.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive too. I mean, I've heard a lot of talk about Yuri Alcantara, who's ranked, as opposed to Jimmy Rivera, who's not.
He's a veteran guy, Yuri Alcantara. He's been around for forever. Jimmy Rivera. Ooh, daddy, look at that. Come on.
He's got a whole lot of wins.
Stupid pop-up ads on the internet. Give me a break. Sorry for everybody in iTunes. Defeated, he's on...
Number 14 ranked in the bantamweight division.
Yeah, so it looks like he is on a, 19 minus 2, 17. That would be a 17-fight win streak, undefeated in the UFC.
Is that Jimmy Rivera?
This is Jimmy Rivera.
It's 18.
Yep. Is it 18 fight?
fight? Now it's 18.
No, he's 19-1, right? Or he previously was 19-1.
Well, he was 1-0, and then he lost. And now...
Right.
So 19.
So that's 2. So you take 2 away.
So 18.
From
Trust me, Jay.
2 away from 19 is 17.
Trust me, Jay.
2 away.
If he has 19 wins, right?
Minus 2.
No. He has 19 wins, right? Right.
Oh, he's 19 wins. Yeah, I'm
and
talking about a win streak,
one.
though.
Yeah, so he won his first one.
Oh, 20. Okay, it's 18. All right. What do I know?
I think it's time to rank this guy. I think this guy, obviously, he defeated the number 14 guy. Put him up there.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe against Brian Ortega, T-City. I think I would love to see that fight.
That would be cool.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, he looked good. He was pressuring Alcantara a lot. Kept the center of the cage. I mean, I didn't see, no round really stuck out to me too much.
I'm wrong.
like
I'm sorry.
bulldog.
Brian Ortega's a featherweight. I'm sorry.
What do you know?
He's look like a little bulldog out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God.
Yeah, stocky, but moved fast and kept the aggression on. I gave him, he won by 29-28 across the board. I gave him all 3 rounds. I'm not quite sure which one
agree.
he gave to Alcantara.
I agree.
But it looked like Alcantara was playing the counter-striking game, and Jimmy was just not having it, kept pressuring him. Got dropped twice. Yuri landed, dropped him twice, I think with a right each time. But
straight.
Yeah.
He kind of like ran into him.
Right, yeah. But didn't, Jimmy was up right away. So he, very good performance there. And, it was a good Fox main card. I had a tougher time getting through the prelims, honestly. But the main card, I thought, delivered with an array of different finishes.
Well, the fight that opened up the main card was that's a fight to talk about. Super Sage Northcutt.
Yep.
Which everybody's talking about.
Everybody's talking about. I mean, let's be real. They're talking about it because he's pretty.
Because he
Let's
looks like Ken.
Let's be real. He looks like an Abercrombie and Fitch model.
Yeah.
Like there's no I'm not even sugarcoating.
Talks like one too.
He literally looks like one. Against Brian Barbarina. Last minute, maybe
Last minute
8 days, 8 day
days.
replacement.
Yes.
He was supposed to face Andrew Holbrook.
Right.
But
Now, was that when that was at 55, I believe, right?
Yeah.
It was scheduled at 55, and he went up. Yeah. So there's a couple different factors going into this match, that Sage fought upward. He still looked, lean and healthy. I mean, he's only going to be healthier, I would think, because of being able to go up in weight and not having to cut so much. Still looked ripped as all hell. And, and won the I thought won the first round. He dropped let's see, I think he dropped him at least once, several takedowns on Brian, and then was the fatal flaw in the second. He overreached on that far right, like early on in the match. I think he threw an overhand right, kind of fell. Tried to make good on it by following up with
a cartwheel
kick. Cartwheel
kick, landed it, but then he just kind of.
It was toward the end of the first too, so I mean, you can obviously take a little bit more risks as that round is coming down. But
no, it was in the second.
Oh, the cartwheel quick?
Yeah,
I thought that was the end of the first.
That was the second.
All right.
It was overreaching on the overhand right, fell, but then came up with the cartwheel kick. Kind of like a Pee Wee Herman. I meant to do that.
But
Barbarina gets top control there, and strangely, now this is one for you to speak on. He's in half guard, gets a head arm choke. I have heard.
You can't finish it from there.
Oh, really? Go tell that to Brian Barbarina, huh?
What? I mean,
what happened there?
He just got across. He didn't even clear half guard. He was in half guard. When I went and back to look at it, Sage didn't even try to kind of move around or even go to his side to even do anything about it. And
I didn't see.
I don't know how.
It didn't look tight under his neck, right?
It did not.
Yeah, I wonder if it was just kind of I was gonna say feel like a momentary freak out moment kind of
from Sage.
Yeah, from Sage. Yeah, I'm wondering what it was that why he tapped so fast. Because it looked like something that he should have been able to fight.
I mean, even at that position, Sage was, underneath him. He had his leg trapped, in half guard. He could have pulled him down, kind of, to give him some airspace.
Right, yeah.
But he didn't seem to do that or know how to do that.
Second time that we've seen Sage kind of befuddled underneath. I don't know that it's well, on one hand, it is a fair assessment, a fair criticism, but I don't think, on the other hand, that it's fair to say, well, this kid, he's all hype, he's no substance.
He's 19 years old.
There's that, yeah. It was, obviously, it's working off of his back is a hole in the game, but 19 years old, he's got a lot of other
pretty
stuff.
impressive. I mean, even Sage Northcutt tweeted, I want to say today, because it says February 1st. So I guess maybe he tweeted and it's on the East Coast. But he said, "Thank you all for the support this weekend and everybody that tuned in and watched. I'll be back better than ever." But
better than never?
Better than ever. There were some other tweets from, let's say, somebody like Tony Ferguson, who is, in his division, and I won't curse, but he says, "Woo, tap like a little bleep and try to tell the ref different."
Yeah.
James Vick, another lightweight, says, "Oh my God," or "OMG, what a blank. Dude gave up. No heart."
There's a lot of hate.
Mike Brown said, "Wow, we got a new president of the Quick Tap Club." Do you agree with kind of this hate? And again, maybe it had to do with what we were talking about earlier, as far as maybe Sage getting paid a lot more than these guys. Do you think that's where maybe the hate comes from?
I mean, a lot of it has to come from there because, UFC fighters are not making that much money.
Right.
And for him to go into the UFC making already that amount, that's going to trigger something.
To be fair, he had a great track record going into the UFC. He was undefeated. I do agree that I think a lot of this hate and criticism comes from the fact that Sage got a big paycheck. Because those are all fighters, active fighters, or Mike Brown's retired, but coaching, and was a WEC champion. WEC fighters came in a bit too early, before this sport has peaked. And so I can understand a bit of sour grapes among a lot of them. Maybe not Cerrone's or Uriah Faber's, but, Mike Brown kind of, came and went. And he's shitting on Sage. I don't know. I don't agree with it, and especially from anybody, the keyboard warriors especially. It's just easy to hate the kid. Granted,
really
he does look like a damn Ken doll, and that annoys the shit out of me.
But especially because he doesn't come out with a bad attitude, always very gracious, always very grateful.
Yeah.
Again, he looks like a freaking Ken doll.
Yeah.
Ken doll wants to say, dude, I want to look like Sage. That's how good he looks.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you think he'll be back? I mean, I always say all the time,
he be back?
a loss will be the greatest thing that ever happened to him.
Yeah. I mean, he's 19 years old. There's so much room to grow. You know, he has so much potential. He's so athletic.
Yeah, especially with a guy with such a huge martial arts background, going back to, I think he was like 4 years old when he entered his first karate tournament. I mean, a loss, while it's not new, on this stage, it definitely is. And that fuel is just going to fire everything up. So, I mean, I hope that this guy ends up, and everybody too, but obviously Sage Northcutt, who looks like $1 million, the guy is going to be the poster child if he keeps winning, you know, so.
Yeah. There is so much still to do with him. He's, for the most part, as I understood it, and, you know, working with his sister, I kind of, I wouldn't say I got to know the family too much, but I've worked with them, you know, over a couple of, several years ago. But anyway, that's a family that was dominating the sport karate scene throughout Texas. They were having a really tough time getting matches. Sage is a few years younger than Colby, and they were having tough times getting MMA matches for Colby. That's why she ended up fighting for us. And Sage at the time was too young to fight amateur in California. And by the time he was of age, Legacy Fighting in Texas was able to book him. And so they did. And, you know, the point to that being that he's... his world, for the most part, with MMA has been in Texas, training with his family, training with local teams there. I think, though, that there is, as you said, El, excuse me, there's a whole world more for him to grow into in terms of fight skills. If he stays with Faraz Zahabi and 5-star, that's going to be huge for him. The question mark, the X factor that we don't know because we're not directly in Sage's life and seeing his training is what else is going on in his personal life. How well is he able to stick with whatever the regimen is at 5-star and you know, stay dedicated to his training. And I know his dad wants him to stick with it. I think he wants to stick with it. You know, they're having the time of their lives right now.
I mean, well, just by looking at Sage, you know that there's dedication, and then there's a subtle, not subtle, but there's discipline that he has.
Yeah.
He keeps that. He's gonna be great.
Yeah, I think it.
And you can tell by his body because it's so.
Because that takes work, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
it does. You know, and just being that disciplined to be able to do that to your body, it shows a lot.
Yeah. The question becomes, how does he react to this step back? Is he and his team humble enough that they can take a step back? Go, all right, got to retinker the game and figure out what went wrong, fill in the holes. Quite frankly, that's a very common mentality that just about any fighter has. So I think that it's going to be pretty easy for him to, you know, kind of for that to be the reaction. You know, that's the next step when you lose a match, you fix the holes in the game and then you move forward.
He's definitely young enough to not even think about, like, too young. I mean, if that would have happened to like a 38 or 40-year-old, obviously Dana White would be having to talk. But that guy's like not even half of a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
Was he even born when Randy Couture started fighting?
19 and let's see,
1997.
97. I think just on the cusp.
Or like Robbie Lawler too.
Probably,
he was like 3 or 4 when Robbie Lawler first started fighting.
Maybe. I think Robbie was fought earlier than 97.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But yeah.
Well, yeah, good. I thoroughly enjoyed the main card, the UFC on Fox. What did you guys think of the prelims? I know you mentioned earlier, just kind of.
Yeah, there were some matches. What do we got?
I mean, Tarek Saffiedine and Jake Ellenberger. I mean, to me, that's a main event fight. That's another fight I was looking forward to. Tarek Saffiedine. I mean, that guy. I still remember him from the last Strikeforce card, just completely demolishing Nate Marquardt's leg. Like, that was just, I couldn't even, I had to turn away every time because it was just so hard to watch Marquardt. And of course, Jake Ellenberger, just a few years ago, he was knocking on the GSP's door.
Yep.
I think he had a victory over Jake Shields right around that time. Obviously, you know, Jake Shields had a couple of things going on in his personal life. But yeah, Ellenberger was a prospect and kind of hasn't been showing that in the last few years. What did you guys think of that main event fight of the prelims?
It was fine. It was a match. I don't know. Let's see. Looking, I don't think I actually scored it. This was one of the matches where I felt like it was all the rounds were pretty close. for no action. I hate to say. I mean, it wasn't a barn burner by any means. So it was Tarek wins by 29-28 across the board. Looks like I gave Jake 10-9 on the first round, but again, I have a note here saying close for no action. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what happens with Jake now. Where is he?
He's lost 5 into the last 6.
Yep.
He's been on a losing streak. Well, not losing streak, but
2-fight losing streak. Yeah, the win over Josh Koscheck in early last year, just about 1 month ago. Or, sorry, 1 year ago. On the LA card, Rousey and Zingano.
And then before that, it was 2013. I mean, and he's lost against like some of the top guys: Robbie Lawler, Rory McDonald, Stephen Thompson, who's main event next week. I mean, obviously, Ellenberger is not somebody, and maybe he should be even mentioned in the top 10.
No, was he listed?
He was officially.
I didn't have him listed on
unranked.
Yeah. Tarek Safadine was number 11.
Yeah.
Going into this. He was training at Reign for a while with Mark Munoz. That's closed down. I think he was working. He was up at Glendale Fight Club for a while. Shortly after that, who knows what's happening over there? Jake is a bit of, kind of at the crossroads of his career. Remains to be seen.
Anything else from the prelims that stood out for you guys?
I really enjoyed that Kevin Casey fight. I don't know. I just just seeing him, it was just getting kind of.
Because he's a local guy.
Yeah, very local.
Trains at Black House. Yeah.
With James.
Have you worked out with him?
No, I've never. But I've seen him fight for RFA. Knocked out somebody in the first, I believe.
Right.
So going in here, I was kind of like being a local and you see locals fighting on TV, you kind of root for them.
The hometown guy, yeah.
But he just kind of got.
What happened there? And
in the first at the ring bell, he got punched and he got kind of like knocked out.
Yeah.
And that was the
came
end.
back though.
Yeah. But didn't really show anything after that.
I gave Natal both those, the first and the second. Kevin was looking pretty decently good. He, in the first round, defended the front face. Sapo shot really from far. Natal, excuse me. Sapo is his nickname. He shot for a takedown pretty far, from afar early in the first, and Kevin was defending it against the cage. Seemed like Kevin was controlling a lot of the middle of the cage. Looked all right, but in the third round, it was just a completely different thing. Like it looked like he gassed out a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Didn't have anything there, and Sabo kind of took over. Let's see. Got the takedown, ground and pound into full mount right to the end. The right hand was working for him a lot. Right hand and shooting those takedowns.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fine.
Yeah. But
I got to say, the one that I'm looking for, as I look in the upcoming matches and cards, the one that sticks out to me in terms of undercard is Cerrone and Means. That one is really stacked in terms of guys. Let me come up here off the. Let's see if I can.
Oh, some of the undercard you said?
Yeah. In terms of the undercard.
Oh, they got Derek Brunson versus Hernan Carnero, John Lineker versus Cody Garbrandt. Is he still training at Alpha Male?
Cody?
Yeah.
It's a good question. I don't know. I believe he is.
Dennis Bermudez, who coming off a tear, but I know he had a loss not too long ago against Tatsuya Kawajiri.
Yep.
Brandon Thatch versus CR
Bahadazara, I believe.
That should be a fun fight to watch.
Right? Yeah.
I agree. Another fight that I think just got announced or unofficially announced was probably Rashad Evans versus Shogun.
I did hear a rumor of that.
I know that fight was supposed to happen like 5 years ago when Shogun was champion, and then Rashad got hurt and then entered Jon Jones into the mix and changed the whole light heavyweight division.
So we're getting back on track with history.
Pretty much. I like that. I kind of thought of that in the top of my head. Suck it, Hawani. Don't tell him I said that. I know. I'm still looking forward to the next month, and just because we have to talk about him, Conor McGregor. I know that's a big one that's coming up. I know that was originally supposed to be 197, but now obviously with the cancellation of next week's pay-per-view, now that's 196. I know I'm kind of looking forward to that now. Tate versus Holm.
Oh, I've been looking forward to that one. Hell yeah.
That's gonna be a good card.
And let me ask you this. Speaking of that card, do you stack that undercard because you don't need to?
You're right. You don't need to. I think you.
Do you give like a lot of maybe no-name guys the exposure because you know people are going to watch?
Right. That's a good question. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I mean, you don't. I guess it also depends on who's available. You make that you can make that a super card, kind of to make good on the fact that your Super Bowl card, your Super Saturday, is now a fight night. You know, taking nothing away from those guys. Super Saturday traditionally has the Saturday before the Super Bowl has
We've
been
seen a lot of
big chunky mega major fight card, and now it's not going to be. That's essentially
Brock Lesnar debuted on that fight card. I think we had GSP versus BJ Penn. For the welterweight belt.
Let's see if there's anything else. Is there anything else listed on that?
But no disrespect to like anybody who I'm about to mention, but like I think the next fight down, other than the championship fights, is like Corey Anderson versus Tom Lawler, Eric Silva versus Nordine Taleb, Diego Sanchez versus Jim Miller. I mean, again, not maybe main event worthy matches or fights, but do you really need to have those? You know, in this case, if you're a promoter, do you just save those maybe high profile matches or fights for like another pay-per-view or another Fox or FS1 card?
Well, I don't think that they necessarily. I think these guys are name recognizable enough to be on this one. They probably benefit from this one more than they necessarily help moving them elsewhere. Like, why would you not keep these if they're already listed on the card? The only one that's going to change here is Ferguson versus Johnson, which is still listed there, and Ferguson's off the card altogether.
Well, they announced Ferguson for April 16th against, and this is a fight that I won't see until I believe it, until the day of, is Ferguson versus Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Right.
And again, I'm one of those guys where like I'm not giving up on Khabib. Like, dude, you can't talk all that smack and not have a fight in like 2 to 3 years, you know? So that's the fight I really want to see. And again, I think I was pushing more for a Ferguson Alvarez, but obviously that's not happening. But still, if Khabib shows up healthy, this should be a number one contenders fight. And I know he hasn't fought in a while, but the point where Ferguson is, I think, ready. That guy has
probably will be, yeah. And we'll see what happens with Eddie Alvarez out of that match.
Well, before we wrap up the show today, I know next week, of course, was supposed to be 196, but now it's turned into the fight night. So, predictions. AfterBuzz predictions.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Oh, no lights? Oh, whatever. I mean, to me, three of the main, actually four. Joseph Benavidez versus Zach Makovsky. I mean, obviously, Joey B is like the man when it comes to not facing DJ. The guy just doesn't lose. Do you guys agree? Do you think Benavidez is going to take that fight?
I do. Yeah. Zach Makovsky is. I'm glad to see him in the UFC now, but I think that he may have peaked in his career prior to getting to the UFC. Ovince St. Preux versus Rafael Cavalcante, I think, will be a bit more of a sleeper match. Not in a bad way. I mean, in that it's going to provide more fireworks than people expect it to. You know, it's going to be under the radar, and people are going to see it and say, "Holy shit, that was how about that match, huh?"
Roy Nelson facing Jared Roshaw, and Jared Roshaw's kind of coming off a little streak too. He's only lost once, like in the last few years, and he just came off a victory of Stefan Struve.
I hope Roy keeps it standing. That's all I'm going to say.
I hope so too. But of course, the main event of the night, not originally the main event, but now the main event. And I'm kind of curious, do you know if this is a 5-round fight?
Good question. I don't know
haven't said anything of it, right?
I think it's still 3.
Well, real quick before the main event, I know a lot of talk on the prelims card. Michael Jackson against Mickey Gall.
Yeah, Joe Boza was just mentioning that in the chat room there.
This is the fight where if Mickey Gall wins, then he's going to face CM Punk. I guess maybe not UFC 200, but UFC 199. I think maybe they unofficially announced his debut.
That's what they're targeting?
Yeah.
99?
Because they're saying like if UFC 200 is going to sell no matter what, so might as well
strong co-main.
Try to get that.
Yeah.
You know?
Now that's weird. That throws a wrench into my idea for doing it overseas. You can't do a CM Punk debut in Lithuania or Poland or Melbourne. God bless you to all those cities, but you guys don't get CM Punk like North America gets CM Punk. I'm just saying. Sorry, Justin Lawrence.
Yeah, but the main event of the night, Maybe a number one contenders fight. Johnny Hendricks versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I guess. And going back to my previous role, Big Rig Johnny Hendricks versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Who do you guys
Let
have?
me think about this one.
Who do you guys have?
Gonna delay and pull it out. Striker versus grappler.
You know who I'm going to
know.
pick.
Who are you gonna pick?
I want to pick Stephen Thompson.
Okay, there you go.
That's my boy.
That's who you want to win.
That's why I want to win. That's why I
Right.
think we'll win.
I don't know yet.
Don't know.
But you can always make your predictions on Twitter and on Instagram.
I will.
So
I will, and you'll see that. And you'll see that on Instagram, Lethal Laura. You can find me there, and I'll make my prediction there.
I'm J10716 as usual, all over your internet, and that's all I got for you.
I retweeted the link of the show, so now I'm at 997 tweets. So
Got 2
what
more
is
to
going
go,
to be
man.
that 1,000th tweet when you can follow me on G Hermoza, GHERMOZA on the Twitter. But for now, we are wrapping up the UFC on Fox 18. We had so much fun. I had a lot of fun with you guys.
I did too.
I want you to know that.
We just chop it up, man.
Just chop it up.
It's fun to talk shop here.
And we will be back very, very, very soon. And I can't wait. Thank you.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.